This club is the most versatile in the bag, and for me, I use it for just about 90% of shots that I have inside of 30 yards of the green. It's the lob wedge. Now, this for me is a 58 degree. I know a lot of you guys have 60s. Most of this information still applies, so if you have a 60 degree, keep watching. Real quick, everybody, Trunk Slammers Collective merchandise is in. We got long sleeve green t-shirt with the original design on the back, Trunk Slammers Collective. On the front, same design, pocket tee. Also this short sleeve one here, this color is ivory. I like it a lot, a little off-white action. And the Breaking Bad, Skinny Pete selling clubs out of the trunk of his car, Trunk Slammers Collective, world's most addicted game. Amazing shirt, go get yourself one. And the first 50 sold of every design will have this signature on the sleeve. So those of you who've been saying that you want to get merch with my name on it, now's your chance. Make sure to go grab yourself one before they sell out. I'm going to play 9 holes right now, and along the way I will drop a few balls here and there and show you how I hit each individual shot with my lob wedge. First is going to be bump and runs. Little disclaimer here, I've been playing this game for a long time, so my feel with this club and my hand-eye coordination is going to be a little better than somebody who hasn't been playing for a while. For less advanced players, I'm sure there's a really good way to hit a lot of these shots with a wider variety of clubs that requires less practice and feel. For me, this is the way I like to do it. Go ahead and comment and say that I'm an idiot and I should be using a bunch of different clubs. I'm gonna read them and it's gonna make me sad, but this is still the most effective way that I've found to get around the course and get up and down for par and birdie. So your setup for your chips should involve as much bounce as possible. Bounce is this flat spot on the bottom of the club. Now there are varying degrees of bounce. This was an 8 degree, which is about a mid-level of bounce. It's gonna be the angle from here to the top of the club. So if this was more bounce, this angle would be sharper. If it was less bounce, this angle would be narrower. I'll put up a diagram that'll explain all of it. With a higher bounce club, you're more likely to skull chips, but less likely to fat them. With a lower bounce club, you're less likely to skull the chips because the leading edge is gonna be lower to the ground, but then you're also more likely to catch fat shots. I like to have a mid-level of bounce on my wedge. This one has 8 degrees, which is about mid-range. I don't wanna have to worry about fatting it, so I want a little bit of bounce, but I also don't wanna have to worry about, if I ever have to lay the face open, catching the leading edge because it's so high off the ground. So 8 degrees tends to be about perfect for me. Plus, with bunker shots, if you have a little bit more bounce, the club won't dig near as much. If you have a problem with stubbing bunker shots and getting a little too steep after it, a club with more bounce might be better for you. For me, I feel like I have decent technique, but I still like a little bit of help. So that's what the mid-range does for me. So depending on the grind of your wedge, your ideal playing position will be different. The way that I like to find the ideal lay down position for the club is by dropping it on the ground. This is the most effective way for the club to interact with the turf without introducing the leading edge too much. Along all these shots, your grip strength is going to change, the way you grip the club is going to change, your setup is going to change. The one thing that's going to stay very similar is the tempo that you use on these shots. This is going to help your feel a lot. So one thing that I like to do to find the correct tempo with each club is by taking little one-handed swings. And I've talked about this a lot, but one place you can start from is actually just by holding this club like this between 2 fingers and seeing what rate it swings at, okay? So without too much of your influence, where does this club want to fall? How fast does this club want to go back and forth? You are getting sleepy. So when this club rotates back and forth, when this club swings back and forth on its own, this should be about the tempo that you're hitting shots at. Figure out how fast, like how long that transition is. See, 1, 2, and then take a couple swings with just your right hand. Now I like to hold on to my elbow a little bit so I make sure I don't let it fly away like that, but when I'm taking these one-handed swings, it's also a good way to practice, but we'll talk about that in a later video. This is about shots, this isn't about practicing. If you want a practicing video, let me know. We're gonna let that club swing freely at the same rate that it would swing back and forth like this, right? When I do that, the club is going to interact with the turf without taking a divot like that. See how that grass comes up? And when you do that, where's that ball gonna go? Nowhere. So, that's the reason that we keep that club in front of us. That's the reason that we let it swing like a pendulum. Because then you see that bounce interacts with the grass, it just bruises it. And if you do take a divot, the club is going to keep moving and you're not going to be totally screwed. So the rate at which the club swings on its own should be your tempo on short game shots, unless you don't have a backswing. In which case, if you have to hit it from here to 30 yards that way, and you can only take your club back about this far, this tempo is not going to get it there. What do you have to do? I mean, this is incredibly inconsistent, but you're going to have to stab at it to get it out. But we're not doing that here. On most swings where you have a backswing, which is 99% of the time, this is your tempo. This is going to introduce more bounce and loft, which is going to make your shots land softer and roll out more consistently. Now first, the definition of a bump and run is a shot that rolls out farther than it lands. Now this is going to be different on every green. There's no exact recipe for how far a shot's going to roll out, depending on ground softness, how hard it's going to check, how fast the greens are. All these things need to be taken into account. On a shot like this, where I have this much green to work with, I know a lot of guys are probably going to take a 50 degree or 54, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem I have is when you hit a shot like that, of this length, with a 50 or 54, everybody's going to have to cut it a little bit. Going to have to cut across it, which is fine. The spin on a cut chip is going to be pretty consistent, but for me, on a bump and run shot, I want as little spin as possible. That's why I'm using the 58 here. I'm going to set up to this a little bit closed. I'm going to shut the face down a little bit, and I'm going to use the same tempo. Face is shut down, keeping the club in front of me, and that's going to put a little bit of hook spin on this. So this hook spin on this chip, it's going to kick forward. If you talk to people who design wedges, they'll tell you that the best short game players on the planet don't rely on spin when they don't have to. So a shot like this, a bump and run where I want it to roll out more consistently, if I put a little hook spin on this, it's going to jump forward instead of checking, which I like. My pre-shot routine on this, take a couple one-hand swings to get my feel down. I step in as I'm looking at the target, let my eyes come back, set the club down, go back to the target, step in, make sure the face is pointing at where I want the ball to go. And then I take that nice tempo swing. Look at how nicely that rolls out. That's why I hit that 58 degree for that bump and run. I could very easily take a 50 degree, cut across it, but I don't like the consistency of that. I like having this closed face. I like knowing that I'm going to be able to cover it and come in with a little bit of hook spin to get that spin to dead end just a bit. You see that? In my opinion, the most consistent way to hit a bump and run of this caliber is a 58 degree. Now, for some bump and run, so let's say I got this pin's kind of in the front, right? But let's say this pin's all the way in the back and I got my ball right there. Then I will consider taking a 50 degree or a 54, but I'm still going to shut that face down a little bit. I'm never going to take a 7-iron. I'm never going to take a 6-iron. I'm never going to hit a club that's higher than a 50 degree because I like being able to shut the face down a little bit, put some hook spin on it, and get it to release more consistently. I should also mention that if you're going to be hitting that hook chip, that hook bump and run, you want to put it a little bit further up in your stance, because if you have it back in your stance and you're trying to hit those hook chips, it really introduces the leading edge and it leaves you at a higher risk to chunk it. So put that thing a little bit more forward in your stance with the hook chip. It'll keep the leading edge from grabbing into the ground. Okay, another perfect example of that bump and run that I think a lot of people might choose to use a 50 degree with. I'm going with the 58 here. It's going to release a little bit better up the hill. It should be a lot more consistent of a golf shot. Really hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something, but I want you to know that video was not made with you in mind. That was not personalized advice that is guaranteed to help your game. With the combination of the right instruction and hard work, you can make massive leaps in your game. So shoot me a DM on Instagram if you want to book a Zoom lesson and get some personalized help from me on your game. I've been giving a lot of Zoom lessons lately, and honestly, it's been a great time. I feel like I've been helping a lot of people with their game, and if you want to be next, shoot me a DM. We'll make that happen. So this video is actually broken up into 2 parts. Part 1, which you're watching right now, is currently on YouTube, obviously, and part 2 is coming out in a few days. If you want to see part 1 and part 2 right now, that is on my Patreon, and it has been on my Patreon for the last couple days. So if you want early access to my content before it comes out, and you just want to support me, head over there, drop $5 a month, and you'll get access to all that stuff. Oh, wonderful. If you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any in the future. Give a shout out to Stripe Headwear. You see me wearing these a lot in videos, lessons I give. I'm always wearing these hats, like them a lot. BHG15 for 15% off your order at stripegolfco.com. Also, Parpoints Golf, this game is absolutely incredible. I got a match coming out soon with Parpoints. 4 golf pros all going head to head in Parpoints. It's for all skill levels. It's a ton of fun. Definitely check it out. If you haven't yet, you are making a mistake. It is amazing.